internet. I am James Phoenix, and it is time for another WXR. Joining me for today's WXR is the usual group of knuckleheads. From the Shadow's Maw, Marcus Shadow.
Hello, Eeyore.
Hello, Marcus Shadow.
But who's the owl?
Also over here, Chris, a.k.a. the Mole, from the Mole Hole.
Yo.
And finally, Richter Hammer.
Thank you very much. Uh-huh.
Anyway, yeah, so these three usual gentlemen are joining me for a rather interesting discussion topic today. If you've been paying attention to the news recently, you're probably aware that WWE is not doing too well financially. Specifically, WWE Chairman Vince McMahon lost $867 million.
Yep.
Practically overnight.
Yep. Or as this podcast can be called, WWE then, now, Foreclosure.
Okay, that was good. That was good.
Brilliant.
That's our tagline. That's it. We're using
yes.
I had to include that at some point, Marcus.
That's the name of the podcast officially.
Toby, you have your orders. Make it so.
Is that we're not gonna run this like certain other shows on the internet that shall remain nameless, where they make up a name based on something said within the podcast. That's what we're doing now.
Yes.
Anyway, so given WWE's financial problems, we thought it relevant to take a look at the current state of the WWE, their finances, their product as a whole, and find out, how is this all affecting them? Are we seeing the effects? What do we think will be effects that we might see of this coming in the future? How can WWE counteract these problems? And overall, what we would do in the situation, basically.
And do we think it's too?
And if it's too late to fix it, yeah. So first off, time for backstory. Yeah, funny.
50 years ago.
Yeah, funny. Anyway, a combination of factors, of course, led to the financial situation. The first big thing coming up.
Do it in an Elmo voice.
Ha!
The first thing coming up.
Yes, now do it in that. I want to be educated.
Once was an allegiance between elves and men. They fought in a squared circle.
I have to say, what kind of fucked up Elmo did you have? But no, story time.
He didn't have. He had Tickle Me Sauron. Anyway.
I want to call it that now. I want to call our podcast Tickle Me Sauron.
No, that'll be for another one. We'll get there. Anyway, so WWE is kind of in the middle of a perfect storm here, as one article claims. And effectively, two major things contributed to the financial situation. Number one was that WWE's television rights were renegotiated. Of course, WWE has a contract, formerly and again a new contract with NBC Universal to air Monday Night Raw on the USA Network, Friday Night SmackDown on the Sci-Fi Network, and some of its other programming here and there on USA properties, such as the occasional special on NBC. Unfortunately, WWE believed that the deal they were going to get was going to be a lot more lucrative than what they ended up getting. They were hoping to double or even triple their profits. Instead, they only got a 50% increase, which is not terrible, but it's not nearly what they were expecting. And unfortunately, that shook a lot of the shareholders. At the same time, of course, the WWE Network launched and has not met the subscriber numbers that they were initially hoping to. Right now, the current subscriber numbers for the WWE Network stand at about 600,000 and change. 667,000, there we go. And this was not what they anticipated, and they initially had stated that they needed 1 million subscribers by the end of the year to break even and make up for the lost revenue from their pay-per-view buys. Of course, with the WWE Network being implemented, both Dish Network and DirecTV satellite providers dropped WWE pay-per-views from their offerings. And, of course, cable company buys reduced from people not needing to buy that for $30-$40 because they could get it for $10 on the network. As a result of this, they said they needed 1 million subscribers to break even in terms of profits. However, it was later revealed that actually they needed closer to 1.5 million to actually break even on the profits. Again, something else that investors did not like to hear. As a result, the WWE the stock took a huge tumble, going from somewhere in the range of about $30 a share down to about 11 and change a share. And needless to say, this
In
was
layman's terms, Vince done fucked up.
pretty much. And so there's questions as to where does the blame lie for this? What
Vince.
generally the
Marcus.
overall look. Yes, Marcus. Overall, looking at the financial side of it, from what people on Wall Street are saying, they're basically saying that WWE stock had no right being at $30 a share to begin with, and that basically it was all a lot of hype, and that everybody bought into and got excited for, especially leading up to WrestleMania. And when reality set in, it all came crashing back to earth.
Pretty much.
And at this point, effectively, it's very iffy as to what will happen. To give you some idea of what's going on, as of right now, currently, WWE stock currently stands at, I had it up here, where the hell did it go? Which window I have it in? It's here somewhere, damn it. WWE stock currently stands at $11.28 a share, which is up basically up 1 penny.
Up by that for a dollar.
And up a total of 0.09%. Not doing too good, and there's charts comparing their revenue to their earnings and everything else. It's generally not good, and there's been a lot of accusations going around as to what is the source of the problem, and a lot of it's being directed at Vince McMahon, of course, to the point that well, before I go into each of the points relevant to this, the overall problems. What do you guys think of what I've already said? We already know.
I think the majority of the problems, if there we go, you guys can hear us, right?
Mm-hmm. Could hear you before.
Yeah, fair enough. I was clearing my throat. I couldn't remember. I was seeing if I did the mic right. But yeah, I was gonna say I think the majority of the problems with that, no offense to anyone here or listening as such, I mean, I say as such to the people listening, so I don't really care, but it's a case of I blame the WWE fans. Some of it I blame the fans because a lot of them are like, I'll buy the WWE pay-per-views if they dropped them down to about $10. I wouldn't illegally stream it if I got them for $10. Second at $10. Well, I could do that, but I don't really have the money, they say when they go out and buy like the most expensive video games or the most expensive fucking drugs or whatever the fuck they're using their little piss poor money on while they feed their fat fucking children KFC. That one may have been harsh, but still.
KFC Double Down, back for a limited time.
Yeah, but still, I was blaming them because I'm sorry, people don't have that excuse much. I mean, some people do. I can understand maybe some people have that excuse, but it's like a friend of mine when I was talking about I hadn't seen Amazing Spider-Man 2 yet and I was waiting for the Blu-ray. They actually turned around and said to me, "Why are you waiting for the Blu-ray? Just illegally download it." I was like, "No. I want to watch it in proper quality. I don't want a legal stream. If I want to support the official release." But then you're not going to know what happens then, are you? Yes, because when I buy the Blu-ray, I'll know what happens. It's not a major issue, you know what I mean? But the same people, it always makes me laugh. It's not just with wrestling fans. It's fans in general of a lot of stuff. Where like fans will download the latest video game instead of actually buying it. And then they'll turn and say, "Yeah, but we don't have the money." But then you'll see them go and waste the money on something stupid that's equally amount.
Well, if you don't have the money, then you do without.
Exactly. Thank you.
I mean, especially entertainment. That's not a necessity.
It's not like you're stealing a loaf of bread to feed your family.
Mm-hmm. And
you're stealing Spider-Man to save $10.
Yeah.
And this is why Rick Hammer's children have nothing to play with but sticks and rocks.
That's not true. They also have his old shoes when the soles have started to go and they make a mouth. He lets them use them as a puppet.
Yeah. And I use my knife to cut holes for the eyes.
Nice.
So it's like a little face.
See, I'm now thinking of Christopher Nolan's The Shoe People. But where most people here probably haven't seen The Shoe People.
Nope.
No.
UK cartoon about a load of shoes that were people. Basically cars, but replaced cars with shoes. It was back when I was a kid.
Did it have Larry the Cable Guy in it?
I don't think so, but it's basically the same concept of instead of humans, they're shoes.
Gotcha.
Okay then.
Moving on. Yeah.
Some of them are soulmates. No.
But anyway, moving along. As a result of the financial problems, many WWE investors are now calling for Vince McMahon's head on a platter.
What about the other two?
Yeah. Do they want to say something?
Yeah, you asked what our opinions were and what caused. I said I was blaming that for one of them, and I was letting the other two say what they were blaming.
Okay, what are you two laying?
I can kind of agree with that. It's I think it's a lot of different things, a lot of different variables that have happened over time, and unfortunately, it might be too little, too late.
I believe, as Marcus said that, I heard Richter say he blames Capcom because if they'd fuck over Mega Man, they'll kill anything.
Wow.
Ha!
I was thinking that. I wasn't.
Nice.
So, Richter Hammer, what do you think?
Definitely the fans do share, a good chunk there. I also think part of it, at least on, like the Vince side of it, the corporate side, is I think that these moves, I think they just probably had bad timing for them. Because I think they wanted to get the network on before WrestleMania so they could try to, get people to do it for WrestleMania. But I'm not sure when they signed the new deal or when it was up. I'm assuming it was, pretty recently. And I think it would have been better if they had, it would have been kind of dickish of them, but I could see them, it would be a little bit better if they had done it after they had signed the deal, or, like that was part of it behind the scenes or whatever. So it wouldn't seem as big a drop because it wouldn't, I don't know how to put it, but yeah, I just think that the timing is.
No, you're absolutely. Vince McMahon admitted that himself in one of the financial teleconferences that begrudgingly admitted that having the WWE network definitely put a dent in our TV contract negotiations, but unfortunately there was no choice because the network had to be launched before WrestleMania 30. No ifs, ands, or buts. So
see, I'd say you could have launched it after WrestleMania 30. They're saying it could have been, but they didn't have to tell us it would launch WrestleMania. They could have launched it after WrestleMania so that you get less people and slowly build it up, and then around WrestleMania time next year have a whole load of new content.
That would have worked too. Well, anyway, as a result of all of this goings on here, the biggest primary thing is that not just that these events happened, but that Vince and his people were so confident that this would not happen. And they bragged the fuck about it. So everybody bought into their hype. And as if it wasn't bad.
The hype.
Yeah, as if it wasn't bad enough that this happened. Now, Lemelson Capital Management, who are one of the major investors in WWE, and 2 months ago they advocated short selling the WWE stock because they saw this coming. And they said that they had taken advantage of the price crash to reinvest in WWE, and then immediately called on the company's board of directors saying, blaming the entire thing on Vince and the upper management of the company. And basically, because the consistent losses, the execution problems, material misstatements and everything, that basically a vote of no confidence in Vince and his people, saying, if this company is going to move forward at all, we as the investors believe that the management running this company needs to be removed immediately.
A call for a vote of no confidence.
Yes. Specifically, the chief investment officer from, according to this article from CagesideSeats.com, the chief investment officer of LCM basically said outright that we follows what we believe to be material misrepresentations by the company about both performance and operating profit of the network, which company is wrongly labeled the home run. Traditional network revenue circumvented management's fiduciary responsibility as stewards. Basically, they promoted the value of the network without giving proper numbers and accurate discussion of the implications of the network as to what compared to the existing financial model. And basically, it's a pattern of they tell people, hey, this is good stuff, without giving them actual facts and numbers as to why it's good, and then it ends up being not good.
And just to continue from a behind-the-scenes at the X-Pound joke that I mentioned with Richter joined Capcom and DMC at E3, Vince McMahon should have just gone up to his investors when they were complaining afterwards, just smiled and gone, "You're mad, bro."
Wow.
Pretty much. And they and the investors are not the only ones that want Vince McMahon's head on a pike, because in addition to that, WWE is also being investigated by no less than 3 law firms. I don't have the names in front of me. Although one of them I have one in front of me. I can't tell you that is the.
Is one of them Wolfram and Hart?
No, one of them is Conn, Zwick, and Fody. Specifically, former Attorney General of Louisiana Charles C. Fody Jr. And they're investigating them for securities fraud, same as the other 2 law firms whose names I don't have in front of me. But basically, they're claiming that WWE intentionally misrepresented the the positive aspects and the going forward. Basically, what was going to happen with the TV deal, the network misrepresented. Yeah, the TV deal is going to be 2-3 times what we had. The network's going to be huge and make us a ton of money, and that they intentionally lied about it in order to boost up stock and get hype up, and that cost investors a lot of money for investing in their stock after the crash. So they're not being investigated for this shit.
Yeah, which it's obvious what WWE needs to do to fix this.
And also it's being majorly pointed out the fact that as another big problem is that some people feel that the TV investors don't realize the value of the WWE programming, because it's pointed out that based on the number of fans that WWE gets, and they're valued at about $200 million compared to the number of fans that WWE gets when compared to Major League Soccer, which internationally yes, but here not that big, had way less fans but got like 5 times the money.
Yeah, but to be fair, you also get shows to get more ratings than WWE and get less money.
Mm.
But I was going to say, it's obvious, and I think everyone here can agree what WWE needs to do.
What does WWE need to do?
They need to please the law firms and stuff like that. They want to get rid of Vince McMahon because of no confidence. But basically, they need to hire a new CEO. Jack Thompson.
Wow.
Or at least make him the new GM.
Okay then.
Are you telling me you wouldn't tune in to see GM Jack Thompson?
I don't know. I don't know who
Even
that
more
is.
so if you had the right to censor gimmick.
There you go.
Oh my god.
I don't know who that guy
Jack
is.
Thompson?
Oh. Basically, he's a big lawyer that always likes to turn around and sue Rockstar Games whenever they make like GTA because it's
Oh, that
inappropriate
asshole. Okay.
and he needs to ban them. Yeah, and it turns out it makes him a
Now I know who
freaking
you're
million.
talking about. Okay, I knew the
believe
name sounded
former
familiar.
lawyer. I do believe they revoked his his lawyer status.
No.
What is it?
Did they
Disbar
kick him off?
or whatever?
They kicked him off
Yeah,
the
I
bar?
believe so.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, he's been disbarred. Okay, can we at least get a show with him now, like you see with detectives on TV shows, where he's now practicing law stealthily in the shadows?
There you go.
Private lawyer.
So
Fedora.
So the question,
Yeah.
so the question is coming up as to whether WWE intentionally misled everybody as to what was going to happen, or if they were just that fucking ignorant and caught up in their own hype that they thought they were telling the truth.
Did the people?
Probably a little bit of both. It's Vince McMahon.
Did the company that flat out lied to all the fans and the person involved and did the Montreal screw job lie to people? Yeah, I'm gonna say yes, they did. They always do it. WWE always lies to people like, oh yeah, buy this year's WWE game. It'll be even better. It won't.
Yeah, well, they had an emergency investor conference call on the morning of the 19th, about a week and a half ago, and in this conference they started talking about where they basically admitted they fucked up, and basically they were all from different places. Vince was in London because Raw was in London that week, and George Barrios was representing the company. And talking about, yeah, we kind of screwed on the TV deal. They didn't give any details, but they were basically trying to talk up that, well, the international contracts were all good. We got the UK and India and this other one. That was good. We didn't get the USA deal got fucked, but all the international deals were good.
I will say the result of this seems to be they're rushing the, if you believe the rumors. Personally, I'm going to say take them with a grain of salt, they're internet rumors. But apparently WWE may be, because of this, may be rushing the WWE network elsewhere.
Maybe.
Like, it was estimated to come out here end of 2014, beginning of 2015. Apparently, it's now set for possibly SummerSlam.
Yeah, I could see them doing that. Yeah. They also mentioned about the television deal. They also Vince basically admitted outright, yeah, the WWE Network launch hurt the TV rights, but we had to launch it. Then if we didn't, we would have had to wait another year to launch it for whatever reason.
The network killed the wrestling star.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
They basically reiterated a lot of the same data. They went through a scenario where they'd have 1.5 million subscribers in 2015 while stressing that the numbers only represented a possible scenario, blah, blah, blah. It should also be mentioned that the other thing that they were trying to backtrack from is when they outright admitted that with the current WWE Network numbers this year, they were going to lose have a loss of between $45 and $52 million.
As you do.
Yeah, which it was supposed to be about $12 million when all was said and done to loss on the launch of the network. So it's way higher than they thought. It's going to be a big loss next year too, based on predictions. So that's not going to help.
To be fair, XGR's lost that much money since we lost the Fallen Angel.
This is true. Well, this is what we get for spending all our money to get in a part-timer like him, where he's not required to make appearances and he can show up whenever the hell he wants.
Hey, it sometimes works. No one's going to give an example? Okay.
I was waiting for you to.
Sure.
Yeah, it occasionally works, but then you break the fans' confidence when he shows up and breaks Marcus Shadow's streak. I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. You mean you want me to make you want me to make a comment like the Fallen Angel showed up on XGR and said he's never ever going away?
Exactly. Anyway, all of this going on, of course, has caused a lot of problems. And basically, they're trying to backtrack now to very little success, and to the point that, and basically underscoring the whole thing, was during this particular conference call where they were talking about subscriber updates regularly, refusing to give numbers and everything else. There was a point where the conference call had a technical problem. The thing cut out, and they lost George Barrios and the other people for a few minutes. And upon realizing that he was the only one in the conference call that everybody could hear, the people that were listening in, Vince McMahon just went, shit. So that pretty much underscored the whole damn thing. Reactions to this around the internet are not generally positive. I will say, for one thing, are we all familiar with a gentleman by the name of Jim Cramer?
Your real name?
Funny. No, Jim Cramer, crazy bald dude, has a show over on what the hell channel's Bad Money on? I don't remember.
I was actually going to make a joke earlier when you did the intro of saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Mad Money with Jim Phoenix."
Yeah, well, as during his lightning round on his lightning round show on the evening.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember.
On the evening of last Friday, he basically went through going through stocks. He basically said, WWE, no, this thing is too hard to understand. Don't touch it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I will say WWE also seems to be making a mistake, I feel.
What's that?
And this one's actually not just leading into a joke. This one is me saying I think WWE's made the mistake of they go with the network. Okay, fair enough. They then try and do all these other shit. And like they did a Scooby-Doo film recently. They're doing WWE films. They're spreading themselves way too thin. And they're forgetting it's a wrestling company and they're not improving the television. If they improve WWE quality on TV of the WWE show, which is the main bread and butter of WWE, the rest of it would probably go up in price because people would care.
Yeah, that's part of the problem is Vince wants to be the end-all, be-all entertainment complex for everybody's entertainment needs in all aspects. And because he's trying to do... Vince wants to be what he's wanted to be for the last 30 years. And that's Vince wants to be respected as being an equal with other forms of entertainment in the world, whether it be sports, whether it be Hollywood. He wants to be an equal. And it's unfortunately, it's never worked for him. He tried to be an equal with football, XFL, failed. He tries to be an equal with Hollywood, WWE films suck. He tries to be an equal in everything, and it never works. And the problem is he tries so hard to invest in everything else that the main product suffers because Vince was so confident, well, we're the only product in town. TNA is terrible. People will watch us no matter what we do. And, well, now it came back to bite him in the ass.
What about global wrestling first? But no, I was going to say Vince McMahon's missed out on one important crucial thing.
What's that?
If you want to own a monopoly on various entertainment throughout all of it and still have a product that sucks, you need to have your head frozen first. At least I believe that's what happened, Walt Disney.
That is the rumor. No, I don't think it's
a robotic spider.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna massive points to Richter Hammer for making that reference. Thank you. Because that was amazing. But yeah, I don't know. That's a strong rumor on the internet that everybody always says. Supposedly it's not true, but everybody always says that that's secretly true.
Well, of course it's probably not true, but neither's most of the wrestling dirt sheets, and we're going by them.
This is true. So, moving along, anyway, basically, WWE's future success is all about whether they can, and the other big problem is that a lot of the investors are people that don't know about wrestling, and as a result, it's hard to determine because the stock goes up and down based on quality of the product. And, this kind of thing is, it's basically a situation where, they don't know the product, and so the product goes up and down based on, the stock goes up and down based on quality of the product, and people wonder why it's, going up and down and, all over the price. It's kind of weird.
Yep.
But WWE is, I mean, $11.28 is not good at all. When, your WWE Network is trying to compete with Netflix, which I happen to have here, is currently trading at $417.83 a stock.
Yeah, they also have better programming, to be fair.
Right, that's true. But it's just a matter of, $10 at WWE Network is good, but if people are already spending, let's say they're spending $7 to $8 a month on Netflix already, and they're all spending another $15 to $20 a month to have HBO and premium movie channels.
And another $3 a month to get updates about Jericho.
Yeah, $3 a month to get updates about Jericho. They're spending they're spending another $20 a month on their Roku. They might not have another $10 to spend on the W Network. It's
Is
not
Roku Red Goku?
Yes,
It is now.
Like Bulk.
Well, it's just kind of crazy.
Swap Goku.
Yeah, it is crazy that they thought they could do that, but at the same time, that is the way entertainment seems to be shifting. So
yeah,
I'll give them props on that. WWE does always seem cutting edge when it comes to that. Like they went to cable when cable was going to become huge.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it benefits them, but I think WWE have messed up with the network slightly.
Mm-hmm.
I think instead of going and making their own network, knowing that this is how it's going to be, they should have done what they did with the other one, where they went to a cable provider. What they should have done is, imagine if they partnered with Netflix. Like you have, for example, when you turn on Netflix, you get a screen of Netflix for kids, and then after that one, you could have wrestling. You click that on Netflix and you got all the WWE shit, as well as telling them, hey, your WWE fans, as well as watching that, they can then go over to the kids ones and watch like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers or Avatar and shit, or go over to the normal Netflix and watch a whole bunch of stuff like Vampire Diaries or 24 if that's on there and stuff, or Once Upon a Time. That would get them a lot more ratings and would be more beneficial, and then eventually they could split off.
True, that would have been a good idea.
It'd be like if they just created their own cable box from the get-go.
True, but Vince isn't exactly the kind of person that wants to share the glory with anybody, or the money for that matter.
But WWE stuff used to be on Netflix. That's the annoying thing.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's just the overall tone in the investor meetings and everything else is that they're in full-blown panic mode and don't really know what to do at this point. I think WWE is generally aware that their product is shit, but they don't understand how to fix it because they're trying things like pushing Daniel Bryan and whatnot, but they're at the point where they've never been in this state before because it's been compared that they're at the point that WCW was right before its collapse.
Kind of, but kind of not.
Yeah.
But to be fair, with WCW right around the time of its collapse, one, Ted Turner had the money. He just chose not to because he'd kind of given up. And B, people like the writers and stuff that were left behind, like the Vince Russo types and shit like that, didn't actually care at all about the wrestling. Whereas at least, and I can't believe I'm saying this, WWE has Triple H. I know for a fact, as much as he's an egotistical prick, hi Marcus, but no, as much as he's an egotistical prick, you know for a fact Triple H at least cares about wrestling.
Mm-hmm. He does.
No, he cares more about his own ego than he does about wrestling. But okay.
He does, but he still cares about wrestling. Like, that's what he grew up liking, kind of, or that's what he wanted to do. So I have more of an opinion, like, Triple H would care more about what happened to WWE than Vince Russo did about WCW.
True.
Pretty much, and it's just at the point where they've never been in a situation before where they were totally out of control of what's going on. Because their tried and trues don't work anymore, but they don't know how to evolve and change with the times because they haven't had to for the last 15 years with no competition. So they're just kind of in a right where they don't know what to do, and it's just kind of a problem. And thank you for giving me a segue there, Mole, because your product is fucked when we're at the point here. Vince Russo weighs in on WWE's financial problems.
To be fair, Vince Russo commenting on wrestling is like Cliffy B commenting on video games.
I don't get the comparison.
Really?
I don't know who that Cliffy B guy is.
He made Gears of War, which was great, and it worked. And don't get me wrong, what he made was good. People seem to like that. Just like Vince Russo worked for WWE in the Attitude Era. But since then, when he went to WCW and made shit, just like since Cliffy B's retiring from video games, there's no need to hear him comment on every little thing because you don't give a shit.
No, but I gotta say, I read through this, and shockingly, he makes sense. That's
Russo
the shock.
swerve.
I know, it's a Russo swerve. He made sense for once. So he makes the point that for example, watching Raw last night, and he basically say, here's where the problem with WWE current ratings lie. Based on last night, the other Monday night, moments after the baby bull was decapitated from behind, John Cena was in the middle of the ring telling Bray Wyatt, "Payback is a bitch." Whoa, now wait a minute. If I brought little Johnny and he came to see the baby bull, what do I do now? Do I cover his ears? Do I up and leave? Do I never come back to see another event live? Mixed messages. But anyway, he said that Vince McMahon once said to him, "You can't be half pregnant." Said it to him many, many years ago, and it's become his number one rule with scripting. What Vince meant was when you make a decision to do something, go with it all the way. Whether it's good or bad, at least go with it all the way. Don't half-ass your shit. And the problem, WWE made the decision to go family-friendly, which is what they told us, but the problem is they're not going all the way with it. They're being half pregnant. It's because they themselves as a company haven't bought 100% into it, and they're just trying to appease the board. And basically, from a philosophical point of view, they're trying to capture everyone. Whereas most TV networks and programming go for the coveted people demographic of people 18 to 49, WWE is going for a demographic of people 5 to 65 and over. And basically, in typical Vince fashion, they want it all, and in theory, there's nothing wrong with that. Go for it all, leave nothing behind, but that's only in theory. And it's at the point where they're trying to appease the programming to everybody, which is something you can't do. And because they're trying to appease it to everybody, they're not pleasing anybody.
I don't know. I will admit, which I can't believe I'm saying, I will admit WWE TV right now is better than it was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Only because there's actually new talent I give a shit about. Believe!
Yeah, finally. But Vince Russo says, back in 2002, I almost went back to WWE because I took it personally that within a matter of a little over a 2-year span, the ratings had split in half from the time that I left. They fell below 3.0. Today, a dozen years later, the ratings are still where they were then. When it comes to eyeballs on TVs at Monday night, half the people are watching now compared to when the Attitude Era was in full stride. They'll fling every excuse at it. The TV landscape has changed with the internet, iPhones and iPads, whatever. Okay, good. However, if that were the case, then why hasn't the NFL lost half its audience in the last 12 years? They're on TV, right? Other ways to watch their product are out there, just like in WWE's case. No, it's a BS excuse. We saw within a 5-minute span on Raw why ratings are half. In attempting to obtain all, WWE has alienated or turned off half their audience in the process. Don't believe me? Look what the IWS community had to say about last night's Raw. Yeah, they love the Shield brawling with Evolution at the end, but the baby bull, not so much. What about the families? Oh yeah, that bull thing was cute, but John Cena swearing, not so much. Now if you keep doing this week in and week out, the things that you don't like will eventually start to build or add up until all of a sudden it's okay if we miss Raw this week. Well, this week turns into next week and next week until I'm not watching anymore.
To be fair with the NFL thing, there's a reason for that. It's a sport. WWE is not a sport. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
And don't give me any of these sport entertainment bullshit. It's staged. NFL, if you're watching it, yay, just for Richter, go Seahawks, because for a fact they're going to become, I don't know, there's a chance they could win. Whereas you watch WWE, and even during the Attitude Era, you knew who the fuck was going to win, pretty much, if you just put your brain together for 2 seconds and figured out, okay, clearly this guy's getting a build right now. They're going to push him so he can be dominant. Yeah.
I would just like to say...
entity.
Sorry, Mole, didn't
I
mean
know you wanted to go Seahawks, but yes.
No. I wanted to say, wait. You said for Richter instead of the guy who actually lives in Seattle? What's up with that?
Richter's a man. He watches sports.
I do. No,
you don't. But I remember me.
Richter's a dad. He watches Dora the Explorer.
I know, but me.
If it was still on Netflix,
I was semi joking with that because me and Richter had a conversation in depth before now, which was not a bad conversation, about the fact he doesn't like the fact a load of people supported the Seahawks who didn't give a shit about them until they were winning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
I was just making that reference. Just
and also,
but I would also like to say that. Did Vince Russo just describe Chris, a.k.a. the Mole? Seriously, the whole progression there, that's pretty much what happened to the Mole over the course of the last year.
Hey, I'm watching it again. And to be fair, when I missed it, I didn't miss week after week. I missed it one day because it's shown at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I watched it the next day.
No, but it did progress to the point to where you basically said to me on multiple times, yeah, I'm gonna stop watching Raw because fuck it.
I said I'm going to stop watching Raw live, but like I said to you, I was watching it recorded because like I said, it was 1 o'clock in the morning. But yeah, it was a case of with the thing of like he described, I was giggling when Jim mentioned it of wait, the ratings split in half since I left. That so reminded me of the one where Ric Flair mentioned Vince Russo went up to him and told him he invented Stone Cold Steve Austin and shit. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
It-
that guy,
it's-
that guy, Vince Russo, he has almost a big an ego as Marcus.
Yeah, it's Russo, but the fact of the matter
Almost.
is he makes a valid point. You know, they shot themselves in the boot by trying to be all things to all people. For every kid they gain, they lose an adult, and for every adult they gain, they lose a kid. So they never actually make traction anywhere.
Right, and
does.
by trying to please everybody, like you said, by trying to please everybody, they please no one. That's a
Right.
great line, and it's totally true.
It is.
Also,
It's,
I just like to make the point to Chris the Mole about you always know who's gonna win. Yeah, I mean, we always know who's gonna win. There's no way Bret Hart's gonna lose the title at Survivor Series '97.
yep. Although that was a real life one.
I know. I'm just saying. Every once in a while they did succeed at surprising you every once in a while.
Well, to be fair, what's the most surprising one we've had in the last 2 months? It was supposed to be the Undertaker's streak, and I called it like fucking weeks before it even happened.
Hmm.
I even turned around the second it happened. I was a big Undertaker fan. I still am. I didn't turn around and start crying or anything like that. I just turned and said to Chris Peak, told you.
Hmm.
I just saw it coming. It was so predictable. But it was a case of I was just saying Vince Russo, he's kind of right, but he's kind of wrong too. There is an element which hasn't been addressed with the WWE stuff. If he's mentioning like WWE stuff of oh my god, you got that, and then the next scene you have like John Cena calling someone a bitch or something like that. Yeah, I don't know if Richter's experienced this recently, but have you watched any films that are meant to be for children or adults kind of together at once?
Family films.
I would not necessarily. I watched the DC animated films that they've done recently, and they're at the same age rating that my little nephew is allowed to watch. And in it, you've got superheroes calling each other assholes and saying I'm pissed off, you're a bitch and stuff like that, and being really violent. But it's okay because that's acceptable in those films for that age group now. And I was like, I don't care, I'm enjoying it. But at the same time, part of me was like, really? Are you getting away with that? But that's kind of what's becoming acceptable now, which is a shame. But I think WWE could capture everyone if they did it right.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's the biggest problem is that WWE aims, they want to go PG and aim toward a child audience, but the problem is WWE was never meant to be a product geared at children. Children enjoyed it anyway, yes, but what they had back in the day, like in the days of like Hogan and Bret Hart and all those dudes, they had a product that the whole family could enjoy. Then it went an attitude and it was a little more, okay, yeah, that's a little more toward the adults, and we lost the kids, and they went far in one direction. Then they realized, we've kind of alienated our child audience for a lot of those. Let's go back the other way, and they went too far in the other direction.
To be fair though, when you mention like the Bret Hart era, that's the same era that gave us Dunk the Clown, which was awesome, and it worked. I like I said, I preferred that era, but it worked. You can go for PG. Everyone, that's one of the big problems, which I say is the fans. The second WWE lowered the age rating to PG, they're like, PG? What? And it's like, fuck off. Have you ever seen a Pixar film? They're PG, yet they still have more heart and more stuff there for adults than like the fucking tweeny Twilight crap, which has got a higher age rating. What the fuck?
True. And that's why I think, like back in the day when you had guys like, Hogan wrestling Iron Sheik and whatnot, that was quality programming that the whole family enjoyed, and they didn't need to curse at each other to make it believable. Because you believed it was real. They cut promos on each other, and it was all good. Occasionally, they pushed the envelope and said something, but that was what kept it exciting. When the Attitude Era came along, in order to keep up, because it was the 90s, they went way the hell in that direction. Everything had to be blood, violence, boobs, and they kind of went
objectifying women.
Objectifying women, and they kind of went a little too far in that direction. And they tried to reel it back in, and now they've gone a little too far in the other direction.
See, I say the balance they need to go is, like I mentioned, like the Bret Hart era, or to put it in terms for people that didn't really watch the Bret Hart era, more like it was like just 2-3 years ago. Because come on, just 2 years ago, even though it was PG, which oh no PG, you still had some stuff for kids, but at the same time, are you telling me you didn't want to put your butt in the seat when you saw CM Punk come out in a Stone Cold top, sit on the stage, and just do a shoot?
Yeah, it did, and then I immediately took my butt back out of the seat in the 5 weeks following it when everything was immediately rendered pointless.
It was, but it still made you want to tune in. I mean, to be fair, that's like saying you tuned out during the Attitude Era when the whole build-up at the corporate ministry was then ruined by Vince McMahon unveiling the fact it was him, despite the fact he was in the room when Stephanie was kidnapped, and despite the fact that Austin saw him Austin literally looked into the face of the higher power the week before, and yet the next week when he's unveiled, it's suddenly Vince McMahon, and it makes no fucking sense. But no, it didn't. You didn't care. WWE storylines have always been that way. They've always been a case of they do something great and then eventually they turn to shit, but you kind of want to enjoy it. It's like the Clone Saga with the comics. It started great, then turned to shit. That's what wrestling storylines tend to do, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. So we're at this point here. We know we've analyzed the problem. We said, okay, the network is kind of flopping on them. They're having the TV deal wasn't as lucrative as they'd hoped. And again, I mentioned it earlier, but another big problem, as people have analyzed, is that WWE has a lot of value based on the number of viewers eyeballs they put on the screen, the number of people that watch the show. And it's good for advertisers and TV people. Unfortunately, there's still this stigma around pro wrestling as being this niche thing that only underclass hillbillies like. And unfortunately, that hinders your ability to get a good deal. Like I said, Major League Soccer, a sport that while internationally is huge, here in America, not that big a sport, got a lot more money for a lot less eyeballs on the TV, and that's clearly a problem. And I think it's a matter of Vince McMahon has failed in his job to sell the product as something that is for everyone and that deserves money. He's failed to do that.
Yeah, but that is kind of true. Like I said, I think if they tuned it right, they could get something good out of what we've got right now. Like I said, great new talent, which I'm looking forward to seeing more of. But it's like, look, you mentioned NFL. Look at the NFL. When it was the Super Bowl, you have Super Bowl specific adverts. You have like loads of star power for like the middle bit, what you call it, the halftime shows and stuff like that. And I'll admit, even as someone who doesn't really like football, you still feel like you have to watch the Super Bowl. I don't know why it has that element. You kind of feel like you have to watch the Super Bowl at least for the halftime show and the adverts. Whereas
I was about to say, I feel like I have to watch the halftime show, not the Super Bowl itself.
Exactly. Whereas it comes to WrestleMania, WWE's biggest show, 30 years of WrestleMania, the 30th one, and it was shit. They didn't put any effort. It felt like they put no effort into WrestleMania. They just hoped, look, we got Batista on the card and Daniel Bryan wrestling 2 matches. Come on, people, say shut up and take my money.
Yeah, pretty much, and that's kind of the problem. Is WWE also got too comfortable in its own shoes, having no competition and no risk of losing money and losing audience, and it's finally gotten to the point where the fans are finally like, you know what? It's been the same shit for 10 years. We're tired of it. We're done. We're not going to take the same shit anymore. We're going to tell the audience has finally woken up and said, no, we're going to tell you what we want. We're going to cheer for who we want to cheer for. We're going to boo who we want to boo, and we don't give a shit what you want or what you think. And WWE is having problems reacting to that because they haven't had to deal with that kind of shit in 15 years. So they're having trouble reacting to it and accommodating to the fans and accommodating to the fact that, yeah, their product is not good and they don't know how to fix it.
Yeah, I will say kind of. The fans have been more vocal in the arena, but I don't think it's because the fans are sick and tired of what's going on. I think it's because they're attracting more, as people would call them, smarks in the audience. Because go and look at any, like, I don't know, use the Wayback Machine or anything on any wrestling site or anything like that, and you can see, even back when, like, during the Attitude Era, which everyone praises now, back then people were criticizing the shit out of it, like, oh my god, Triple H just won the title yet again, boo. Wait, they've done what with the Who Run Over Stone Cold storyline? And people just insulted like shit. The same amount of people, kind of. It's just there's more access to it now, as they are now. It's the network and the other thing which has resulted in the money crisis thing because they spread themselves too thin. But fans are still as critical as ever. They've always been critical, sadly.
I think they're being more vocal about their criticism, though, at least in terms of directly to WWE. Like with Daniel Bryan, how they tried to bury Daniel Bryan and the fans would not allow it, come hell or high water. How they brought back Batista as this big hero and to be the guy at WrestleMania, the big returning hero, and the fans were like, "Fuck you, Batista, we don't want you. Get the hell out."
Yeah, which I still say that was stupid as fuck. Because I understand
Well,
the
Batista
fact
coming
that,
back or the fans booing him out of the building.
no, I understand the fact they wanted to cheer Daniel Bryan. I hated the fact those same fans were so narrow-minded that they got to the point where they were booing anything that wasn't Daniel Bryan. Even Undertaker coming back near WrestleMania time got some boos at one point. Even fucking showing The Rock boos and stuff like that. It was like, what the fuck? Why are you booing everything that's not Daniel Bryan? There's no fucking point to it.
True.
And then the same people are like, yeah, listen to the audience now. They're cheering Daniel Bryan. Clearly, that means he's a massive face. Yay. But it's like the second the audience would cheer, the same people were cheering Cena, everyone was like, they're just kids.
Mm-hmm.
PG, yada, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't understand the booing of anyone that wasn't him. Like, I'll be honest, Batista coming back, he should have got more cheers than he got. I don't like Batista personally, but I still think he deserved a bit of cheers.
I can agree with that.
I mean, come on, they cheered fucking Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming back recently, who was kind of okay when I was growing up, and he was past his prime then.
Fair enough. So let's move on to the question here.
Well,
with all these things, the problems that are going on, and all the things that are happening, how does WWE fix this?
improve the Diva division. And I'm almost not taking a piss with that.
Actually, I would say that Mole kind of hit the nail on the head earlier. I would say, fuck everything else. Focus on the wrestling. Focus on your WWE product. You make that good, everything else will fall into place. Like Mike Mole said, they spread themselves too thin and they've got no focus. They have to have focus.
See, I may not have said this enough during this podcast, but I always liked you, Marcus. You're a good Asian substitute for Crispy.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Be careful. He's gonna have Richter put you on his shoulders and then give you a thumbs down. Anyway, the other thing that should be relevantly brought up is that fair enough. Focus more on the product, but at the same time, let's ask: do we agree with some of these assertions by like the investors? Do we think that removing Vince, Triple H, and Stephanie and putting in new runners in the company would help solve the problem?
As much
Moving
as
Vince, yes. Triple H depends on who they replace him with. Because as Mole put it, yeah, Triple H kind of sucks, but at least he has a love for the business.
yeah, and I would say I hate to say this, but I don't want to remove those three. I would like to get new creative teams in and stuff, yes, but don't remove Vince and Stephanie and Triple H, because the second you do that, the 50 years heritage of the McMahon dynasty is effectively over, and it's new people, and you have no idea what the new people are going to do. They could essentially brand new day everything or anything like that. I'm just using that as an example, but you have no idea what they could do. And it's also, in my opinion, important to the history of WWE that it's in the McMahon family.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It'd be
I
like
would say
taking
get rid of
Disney
Vince,
away
though.
from everyone that's related to Disney.
Yeah, I would say get rid of Vince, keep Triple H and Stephanie, because from what I understand, Vince is one of the chief problems with the WWE. I mean, like Mole said, to get new creative, that's not going to help, because as I understand it from stuff that both you and Jim have said, the reason creative is in the state it's in now is because a lot of creative had said fuck this and left, because Vince doesn't want to hear what they have to say. Everything that goes through is what Vince wants, and that's why it sucks. You get rid of Vince, Triple H and Stephanie, from what I understand, are more likely to, not necessarily all the time because, again, ego, but are more likely to actually listen to the creative people when they go to them and say, yeah, this is a fucking stupid idea.
Yeah,
But
I
Vince
agree.
won't hear it. Vince will not hear of it. If you go to him and tell him one of his ideas is stupid, your ass is fired. Which I have to say, that's one of the big reasons why the company's in the state it's in, is because Vince will not listen to anyone who will tell him no. So therefore, he's fired everybody who made this company money.
Right.
I'm sorry, I have to ask. I kind of tuned out for a second. I heard you talk about the jackass in charge who won't listen to people. You talk about RV with that gold Phoenix asshole.
Ouch.
You're welcome. Whoa, we're meant to be
No,
referenced. We're
no.
meant to mention that during our podcast.
But yeah, that's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. The faster Vince gets kicked out on his ass, the better WWE will be for it. Okay, not a popular opinion, I see.
I know.
I can see that.
I realized my mic was muted. I was saying I agree. I was just saying you don't necessarily need to remove Vince. Just give someone equal power like Triple H. But essentially speaking, the way I look at Vince McMahon is the same way I looked at what's his name, George Lucas. When he made episode 4 and 5, brilliant because he had someone to tell him no. The second he made episode 6, 1 and 2, I kind of like 3, but 1, 2 and 6, he didn't have anyone to tell him no, and look what we got.
Yeah, but the difference between Lucas and Vince McMahon is Lucas will allow people to tell him no. Vince won't. Vince will fire them, like I said. You
But
can't
yeah,
have Vince in any kind of power.
That's
If
why,
he is in power, nothing will get done. Shit will remain the same or get worse.
That's why I said
Because
have
he won't
someone.
hear of it.
As I said, have someone of equal power, like say Triple H, or at the very least, if you put Triple H and Stephanie in there, I wouldn't say kick Vince out on his ass. At least give him some role, like legend
Figurehead.
contract or something. He deserves something.
Well, yeah, I
Make
think
him the
Vince would be
figurehead.
Vince would be the figurehead of the company still, but he would not have any actual, the actual power. And I think that I agree, but I think the other problem is I don't think Triple H or Stephanie should have the level of power Vince has, because while they creatively, yes, they should have that, but those two don't know business. As much as I'd like to tout what's best for business and character, they're not business people. So financially speaking, running the company, I don't think either of them would do that good a job. Creative to run creative, yes, but the other side, no. Which is why I think, to be perfectly honest, given what has happened in the past, I agree Vince does, I think, need to retire and still be involved, but needs to retire and step back. And I think we need another passing of the torch. In the same way that the WWF was consolidated and became this worldwide phenomenon, we need to take it to the next generation. Someone who has been a CEO of multiple organizations and knows how to run the business side, but is also brilliant at creative. We need Shane back. It's pure and simple.
Yep.
Shane needs to become the CEO and the chairman and run the damn company, because he's the only one in that family that knows what the hell he's doing in the total package.
But only if he wants to. Only because didn't he leave because he didn't really want to be in the wrestling business? He didn't want to be in the WWE business. If you put him in the position of power in the business, he could possibly be even worse than Vince. He could run the ground just because he doesn't care.
No, you're misunderstanding. Shane left because he wanted to be in the business because he didn't like what the rest of his family was doing.
Yeah, but I will also say to his credit, I can't believe I have the amount of time to do this during the podcast. Triple H isn't as bad as people make out in terms of the business. Some of the booking has been shit because of the people they've chose to be head bookers, but he's not too bad. Because to be fair, one of the best decisions WWE's done in the last 20 years has been NXT by Triple H.
No, I agree. Triple H is great in terms of, I think Triple H is great right where he is, running the creative aspects, booking the shows, and doing what he does. Because contrary to his ego occasionally getting in the way, I agree with Mo. He does love the business, and he wants what's best for the company to push it forward, and I agree with that. Which is why Triple H is great in a creative role. But when it comes to handling the money and dealing with all the other aspects of the company, the films and all this other stuff, I don't think he and Stephanie are all that good at that. And that's why you need somebody who can, number one, I think they need to cut loose WWE Films and call it a freaking loss. But that aside, I think somebody like Shane, who has experience as a CEO running companies, not only that, but he also has great creative ideas too, so he can work with Triple H and Stephanie, the three brains on creative, let them handle it day to day, but he can give some ideas now and again. And at the same time, he can run the financial side of it to make sure the money's being properly spent, making sure that they're making good investments, that they're doing things with the company that will actually work, and not just whatever the fuck Vince wants to, because Vince has to measure dicks with everybody else in entertainment.
How about Ted DiBiase? I mean, come on, he's a millionaire.
True. And,
actually, they could revitalize WWE Films. They just have to put someone in charge who knows how to run a film company. I hear that there's this kind of hack. What's his name? George
James Phoenix
Lucas, I believe was his name. I hear he's available.
I also hear he has $80 billion. He doesn't need WWE's bullshit.
Yeah. I also don't see how George Lucas would make the WWE films good.
Yeah, not really.
Well, at least he knows how to run a successful film company. You can't say
He does.
Lucasfilm wasn't a successful company.
He
I
does.
hate the ropes. They're coarse and get everywhere.
Yeah, he does know how to run a successful film company. Once he's actually had people there to and stuff like that to build a franchise that people love. I don't see the Marine being the next Star Wars.
Not really. And I think it's kind of the point that that was made, and that's that when Lucas made Star Wars, Spielberg was there to tell him no, and it's a matter of
was Indiana Jones.
Oh well, fair enough. Indiana Jones, then he had to tell him no, and for the first couple of Star Wars films, he had the freaking what company produced those films? The fucking or distributed them? Was it?
You had Fox doing it, but it wasn't Fox as such. You had people. He hired someone that was actually like the one underneath him that wasn't afraid to tell him no. Then the second he got rid of him and got the next guy, next guy's like, great idea, Lucas.
But that's really just it. Is that Vince is a great man, but it's just at the point where he's become so set in his ways, which happens as people reach that age. He's just become so set in his ways, and because he still has the power, it's impossible to get a lot of stuff done. And that's just the big issue. And they also don't give things a chance to run their course. They'll have a great idea, they'll put it out there, but then the second something goes even minutely awry, like there's a minor drop in ratings, they immediately switch back to status quo. But that's not going to fly anymore. The fans won't take it. So it's really interesting to see where they go in the coming years here. As I would have to predict, I would think that in the next 5 years, Vince will retire, I would think. He'll still be active and showing up once in a while, but I would think from the business side of it, at least as... maybe he'll retire as maybe he'll stay on as the chairman of the board, but retire as the CEO and let somebody else take over as CEO running the company. And I think that once Vince steps back and retires, and either Triple H is 70 or whoever else steps in and runs the company, it'll really help the situation. And the other aspect being the other thing that was rumored for a while that was in talks. Do we think that Vince should just outright sell WWE? Because it was rumored for a while that there was considerations that who was it that wanted to buy WWE there for a while? But the rumors were one of the big television conglomerates was looking into buying the WWE, and do we think that would be a good idea? I mean, do we think somebody, if an actual production company that does television got this, would that help? That actually runs programming and writes stories for programming. Do we think that would help? I mean, I don't know.
Sell it to Disney.
No. Ha! But no, as Mole said before, if it's in the hands of anyone but the McMahon family, that's kind of a slap in the face of the entire industry.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
it needs to stay in the heritage. It needs to stay in the hands of the McMahon family.
I understand that,
but high water. It either needs to stay in their hands or it just needs to outright close.
That's what I'm saying. Because you're basically saying you would rather it be run into the ground and die than be owned by somebody else and possibly be good.
Yes.
You suck.
And I'll tell you why. Because Mole made a very good point to me the other day, which I had not thought of, which I was like, that could actually be better for the future of the landscape of the industry. And
You're
that is
welcome.
Yes. You know where I'm going with this, Mole.
No, but I like the praise.
You do realize, Jim, if WWE goes under, you do realize which promotion will become the premier wrestling promotion, right?
There won't be one because at the rate they're going, TNA is going under at the exact same time.
Ring of Honor.
Not TNA. Exactly. As Mole pointed out to me, Ring of Honor becomes the best in the business. And I'm like, you know what?
Force.
Yeah, the Ring of Honor has been around longer and has already proven itself. And I was thinking, you know what? And Mole even said, that could actually be a good thing if Ring of Honor all of a sudden has to take the baton because they're the best in the business. And I'm like, yeah, that you make a valid point with that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time for WWE to cease to exist. Maybe it as Captain James T. Kirk said to Dr. McCoy, has WWE outlived its usefulness?
Yep. Although I would also say the only downside to the Ring of Honor thing would be I know what happened with that. Hence why I made the joke. Where would all the people like John Cena go who wouldn't be able to cut it in Ring of Honor? They're going to go to something like TNA or Global Force Wrestling, and their ratings will go up to the point where they'll probably be beyond Ring of Honor, sadly.
Maybe.
Well, that was the buzz. It was the AMC networks that were rumored to be in talks to buy it, but apparently that wasn't true. But
Because
yeah,
I'm sorry, let's say TNA gets a load of old WWE stars go there. I'm sorry, if they put Austin Aries v CM Punk, shut up and take my money. You've got me as a fan.
Except CM Punk would go to ROH before going to TNA. He'd go back to ROH.
Probably, but it'd still be cool to see Austin Aries v CM Punk. I like Austin Aries,
fair enough.
aka Jacob Cass.
And also with the fact that I think his contract it's either up or it's about to be up. You're telling me seeing Samoa Joe in ROH wouldn't be fucking awesome?
It would. He did come from there.
Yep.
See him going back there. And seeing ROH become this basically the new age WWE, I think that could be a good thing.
If that works, but the problem is with ROH is that it's not televised. So really, how are they? And they only have a pay-per-view every once in a while. So really, how are they going to generate that fan base? Nobody has the ability to see it.
It's televised. Yeah.
It is.
I think it's televised.
I don't
know.
think
We have it on TV here. We have it on TV here.
Yeah, but you have a ton of crap.
And I know people over there that watch it, so I assumed it was televised.
Let me see.
It might not be, but either way, it's perfectly fine. But yeah, it's a case of Ring of Honor is pretty cool. Although, to be fair, if WWE went under, and let's just assume they weren't televised or whatever, but let's just assume they weren't, they would get the slot because you know for a fact the channels in which WWE is currently airing would want to fill that slot with wrestling.
True, and actually it is televised over here, but only in specific markets.
Told ya.
Fair enough, I didn't realize it is.
Another promotion I would like to see emerge out of this and get more exposure because from up here they're friggin' awesome, and a lot of divas come out of it. I want to see Glimmer.
Nice.
Because a lot of the best divas that WWE's had that they've completely fucked up on and underused or misused came from Glimmer, and it's like, from what I understand, there's a lot of talent there, and it's like I'd almost rather see that than WWE because it sounds like they actually showcase their talent.
Yeah, but what do you think, Rick? Because I realized Rick.
For which part?
any of it. Because I realized we'd all spoke and
Okay.
hadn't given you a chance to speak.
Oh, that's fine. Well, the main thing I would tell them that, well, at least from my thought, is, you said earlier they're in panic mode, and I think that's bad. Like, don't panic. I think they need to, probably do it somewhat quickly, but I think they really need to think about what their next step is going to do and consider a lot of repercussions. And because as Marcus said, a lot of times when the ratings dip a little, they freak out and then go back, and it's like that's not the way. I don't think that's the way you should do it.
I
you
said
really
that.
need to...
I said that, and I resent
sorry.
being compared to the Asian.
Fuck you.
To the Asian crispy.
I have to ask, saying the sentence, now don't panic, think about your actions, think about the consequences. Are we currently speaking to the stay-at-home dad gamer or just flat-out dad?
Both.
Now, Triple H, don't run with sledgehammers.
Pretty
Think
much.
about what happens when you run with that, and
Yeah,
then
but
you decide.
Yeah.
No,
Director
Bray
finish.
Wyatt, don't chase the buzzards.
Yeah. But I think the biggest problem with WWE is that they back in the Attitude Era, they had a lot of foresight, or at least more than they do now. Nowadays, they're changing plans an hour before Raw goes on the air because, they don't. They're so scared that things aren't going to work that they're constantly changing everything, and nobody's ever happy because Vince wants something, Triple H and Stephanie want something, Creative wants something. Nobody's ever happy, and especially with Vince changing his mind, the plans are constantly changing. So, they can't book a storyline more than a couple of weeks in advance, if that. And as a result, everything looks like shit because they're cobbling it together as they go. It's basically what fucking happened to Lost. Is that they had this great, plane crash people on an island, then there was a smoke monster, and then it kind of spiraled out of control because they didn't know what the fuck they were writing. They were just making it up as they went along, and they even admitted that after the show ended.
To be fair, that's what caused the Attitude Era, Jim.
Right, but the problem is now they can't go back to Attitude because they're PG. So now they're at the point where they're like, oh, I don't know what to do. So now they can't plan anything out, and that's why everything's failing because the storylines are being pulled out of their asses and out of nowhere, and shit's being aborted left and right because they don't have confidence in anything, and people don't want to tune in and watch wrestling because they don't want to get invested in somebody only to find that person getting deep pushed or that storyline abruptly ending for no reason.
Yeah,
It's
I
because for
agree.
two things. One, they're being run by a bunch of dirty old men. They're not being run by people of this generation. I don't think. That's what it sounds like to me anyway.
Hi, Richter
Like
and Marcus.
like Vince. The second thing is, as Mole pointed out earlier, and I kind of want to bring it up a little bit earlier, but hey, this is a perfect place. Mole said, and I completely agree with this. I hadn't thought about it until he said it. That WWE creative doesn't know how to finish at all. They can't finish fucking anything. All their finishes are shit. They have these great ideas, these great storylines, but they can't figure out how to end the fucking storyline. Case in point, the walkout. That was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But then what happens the next week? It's like, that's the end of the walkout? Really?
Yep.
They can't finish a storyline to save their lives, and right now that's killing their company.
Well,
I think if they could figure out how to finish storylines properly and with the right amount of like tension and drama and stuff like that, and just finish it without making it look fucking stupid, I think that would help their product a lot.
But I don't think that's all on creative either, because it's a matter of they have a finish in mind, and then Vince says, "Well, I don't like this finish," or we got to change storylines up because the ratings are tanking, and so they're not allowed to fucking finish.
Yeah,
And that's what I mean. That's why I think some like Vince needs to go. I think they need someone who will allow them to do their fucking jobs.
Yeah, I was gonna say the reason I mentioned a second ago. To be fair, this is how the Attitude Era came about. It doesn't matter about the PG thing. The Attitude Era came about, one, because obviously it became a fad at the time to start liking wrestling, because a lot of those people now just didn't give a shit before or afterwards. But you also had the fact, as Shawn Michaels and other people have said on WWE stuff, they were in full-on crisis mode backstage because WCW was flat out going to run them out of business, to the point where every week stuff changed on the fly and all that because they were constantly trying to get those ratings back, which means we could see something great come out of this if they did it right, if they got the right creative people, because this is the same environment that gave everyone the Attitude Era most people like. Like I said, personally I didn't, but a lot of people did, which means you could get something like that be created out of this.
It's possible, but then you have the counterpoint of being a different situation in number one. Now it's not just about having more ratings than the other guy. It's about not losing ratings, period. And also because of the PG rating, and also because of what Vince will allow on the programming, they're limited to what they can do to solve the problem.
I think PG is not a problem.
PG is not a problem, but the biggest difference between the Attitude Era and now is back then it was WWE v WCW. Now it's WWE v itself, and I don't know that WWE can fight itself and win.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that one. They lost the competition, and I would say, because I know Jim keeps mentioning the PG thing. The PG thing's not a problem, because all turning up the PG stuff does is mean, oh no, now every week you're just going to see people blade themselves, hit each other with chairs, and do a whole bunch of spots. How's that improving storylines?
Yeah, I say, well, I mean, you'll have a little more options without the PG, but at the same time, I think keeping it PG is probably the way to go, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But I think keeping it PG is the way to go. You just need someone in charge who's willing to let creative be creative. Again, it comes back to Vince. As much as I hate harping on it, Vince is a major source of the problem here because he's choking the creative out of WWE.
Well,
he's not allowing them to be creative.
Well, that's all based on the dirt sheets. We don't know if all that's necessarily true. As Mo likes to point out, the dirt sheets are wrong a lot of the time. And also, like I said, I'm not saying with the PG, oh, yeah, we need to have blade jobs and swearing and everything else. No. What I'm saying is there's basically a point where they're writing these storylines, but, it has to be kept child-friendly. And unfortunately, to them, child-friendly equals boring and safe, and in a lot of cases, John Cena making poop jokes. And as a result, I think all you need to do is don't necessarily say, oh, we're not going to be PG. Just let the wrestlers act like humans, I guess is my point. Let them be actual people and interact with each other and be natural. Let them write their own dialogue and go out there and just have a natural interaction. If that involves, oh, somebody called somebody a bitch here, or, oh, somebody got, hit with a chair and they bled a little bit over here, so be it. Don't necessarily book it with, playing jobs and swearing and everything every single week, but once, allow them to do what they need to do once in a while for emphasis.
That's what they're doing now.
No
the
one's
Triple H Brock Lesnar feud involved blood, and you just flat out read that John Cena said bitch last week on Raw.
Oh yeah, he said bitch once, but that's
How
for the
many times
shock
did The
value
Rock
because they
say
never.
it?
That's for the shock value because they never do it. Once in a blue moon, they'll let John Cena do it, or they'll let The Rock do it. But more often than not, it's like I said, they got to make a bunch of stupid poop jokes or dick jokes or whatever else. At least let them be adults in their conversation. Don't write all their dialogue for them. Let them write their own dialogue, or hell, let them go out there and shoot the promo back and forth and have a natural conversation once in a while. And if occasionally someone slips a swear in there, so be it. Or if occasionally, a match gets a little overly violent, so be it. Let the wrestlers do what they need to do. Stop trying to script their every goddamn move. You suck at it.
Yeah, although on the flip side, to be fair, haven't they always done poop jokes and shit like that? I mean, like you mentioned about like the Attitude Era, wasn't that mainly like The Rock coming out every week and making some sort of reference to his penis or the people's strudel, as he would call it, and some sort of food-related pun or something like that? And so they did that all the time, or DX with all their stuff. They constantly did that. WWE's always done that. Poop jokes and stuff, they kind of work. I mean, WWE, let's face it, it's lowbrow entertainment. Hence why poop jokes and shit do work. I do agree they could do some better than they have done recently, but to be fair, they've also done some great storylines recently.
Yeah, I will admit they kind of realized their problem, and they now they're kind of correcting it. They're booking, they're putting the guy that the people want in the headline, Daniel Bryan forward, maybe a little too much. They're bringing in new, fresh blood that people are getting behind. The Shield, the Wyatts, Bo Dallas, Adam Rose, Paige. They're finally bringing in all these new people to bring in fresh blood, and that's in and of itself getting people to tune in. Plus, having NXT available, people are all over this. By doing this, they have new people with new gimmicks and new ideas that they can write for, and they're not just writing the same stale shit of John Cena feuds with Randy Orton, part number 3,845.
Yeah,
They can actually do something and start facing out these older guys, and that's in and of itself going to help the company greatly, because then there'll be new guys they can book with, guys that haven't done certain things before, guys that have new gimmicks. They can really work with it a lot. I think that's a big help in and of itself.
yeah, which means, and I don't know if you'd agree with this or not, Rick, but doesn't that mean we could possibly get something really, really great out of all of this?
It's possible.
Because right now, it's in the same situation as it was that created the Attitude Era, and at the same time, which is all of your guys' favourite era, it's also in the same situation which created my favourite era, which I believe the game called it the New Era or something like that, whereby they, as Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels said on the DVD of their rivalry, WWE wanted to get rid of the old dinosaurs that were now clogging up this place, so they had to showcase fresh blood like Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and stuff, which means it's basically the foundation that created all of our combined two favorite eras. There should be something fucking awesome that comes out of this. There should be something amazing.
Yeah, hopefully
if they survive it.
Yeah, if WWE doesn't go bankrupt from all its other ventures first.
They'll survive if Taz lets them.
Fair enough.
It had to be
All right,
done
WWE, win if you can. Survive if I let you.
Survive if I'm Batman.
Survive if I get a paycheck from TNA this week to actually fly out to you.
Yeah, but no, like I said, we got, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a powder keg to create something really amazing. I think they could survive this, because to be fair, and it could go either way, but to be fair on the positive spin of it, like I said, powder keg to create something amazing. Plus, they're meant to be getting the network out internationally faster. Their numbers could increase to the point where they start to make money back in a couple of years. It's like, who here is excited for E3 with the PS4? Or who wants a PS4?
I'd like one.
Yeah, you're interested in it. I know Jim wants one, Jeff's got one, or Marcus has one. I've got one, which means we're all interested in that. Sony have recently lost 200 million. Does that impact the PS4? No, because we have enough confidence they're going to rise out of it. I have enough confidence WWE can rise out of this without, and I'm trying to say this without saying the word believe, but still, I have confidence they could come out of this. I'm hoping we get something great, but on the flip side, I could also see this ending disastrously. either way actually kind of works, because if it dies, it means it was time for WWE to die. But if we get something truly amazing out of it, that's great.
Yeah, I think either way, and since you used the powder keg, it's either, like you said, it's either going to explode into something awesome or it's going to blow up in their face. But either way, out of the cloud of explosion, something awesome will, to steal a phrase from Jim, rise from the ashes.
All we have to do is believe.
Good night, everybody.
To steal a catchphrase from Rick the Hammer.
Oh.
All right, well, I think we've about wrapped this topic up. Thank all three of you gentlemen for joining me.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier.
So what you're saying is, because WWE as a program is currently going downhill, it means we're about to get the inevitable musical episode that shows normally do, and they're clinging to breath after they've jumped the shark.
Please do that. That'd be awesome.
That might be amazing.
Only if we get Undertaker and Kane singing the song from Prince of Egypt. Once I called you brother.
That would be awesome.
No, what they need to do, they need to team them up again for our last round of Brothers of Destruction and have them come out singing "Just the Two of Us." We can make it if we try, just the two of us.
You and I.
Okay, right, well, out with that old mask with "I am Iron Man." But I'm sorry, wrap it up, then, Jim. That's all, folks.
Yes, that's about all, folks. Thank you for joining me. I'm James Phoenix. We will see you next week for the next WXR, in which we will be taking a look at some of our favorite feuds. Stay tuned.
Yep. And can we animate that?
We should.
Can we animate Marcus going, "That's all, folks," as he disappears behind a bubble?
That's all, folks.
And right as he goes to fade, have his face warp into mine and go, "You're mad, bro."
Good night, everybody.